8,000 meters, which makes this the longest, furthest recorded video ever. This is the 2-foot-long lens which is going to make this possible.
If we lied to you about where you are, we can lie to you about everything else.
Globe theory has 4 mandatory conditionals, okay? The first of which being curvature. If the Earth is a globe, then there would be some sort of shape. There would be some sort of globular shape that could be measured.
The Navy admits in their defense magazine that their laser weapon that has no curvature to it whatsoever, it's not curving, can shoot down Russian and Chinese cruise missiles flying 50 feet over the water over 100 miles away. Now let me explain to you what 100 miles is, because you didn't know a minute ago what curvature is supposed to be there at 100 miles. I'll tell you. If the Earth is a sphere 24,901 miles in circumference, the 8 inches per mile squared on average means that in 100 miles there should be 6,666 feet of curvature. That's well over a mile of curve. There is no laser weapon shooting from a Navy ship doing this to hit a missile moving at Mach 4. I'm sorry, but the Navy admits by that the Earth is level and non-rotating.
Yeah, this is Platform 22. I'm your host, 33 Chef. It's been a minute, man. I haven't made a video for a while, but you know what? Been a little bit busy, had a lot of stuff going on. You know, family things. I'm a dad, you know what I'm saying? I got 2 young daughters. I know there's no excuses, but you know what it is? It's just time. Do you know what I mean? And you know, we gotta do things, we gotta pay the bills. So hopefully this is why I wanna build this channel, you know what I mean? We wanna build this channel so we can do this more, spread more videos, build a community together. So if you're on this journey, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel, people. Trust me, we're about to get into this stuff, man.
8,000 meters, which makes this the longest, furthest recorded video ever. This is the 2-foot-long lens which is going to make this possible. It's one of the longest and most efficient lenses which can allow you to shoot extremely long distances. I have no idea why anyone would actually want to have this in real life. It is a 452 times zoom, which is, well, stupid. We're going to be able to see from one end of this extremely long desert road which stretches for about 12 miles. I'm going to be standing all the way on the other end of that, and then we're going to have this camera fastened safe and sound right here at this little clear out here, far away from the road but still aimed at the exact other end of it. And as you can see from the final result, this is how it looks like to be filmed from 12 miles away. So I'm petitioning Guinness World Records. I'm looking right at you, Guinness, wherever you are, to basically allow me to gain this world record. Now I'm going to explain to you how exactly I did that. This thing right here is an apparatus which is going to prevent too much sunlight from reaching into the lens, because of course when you have a 400+x zoom and you're filming something from nearly 13 miles away, it's going to be kind of catastrophic to the end result. If too much sunlight is entering in there, it's going to overexpose extremely high. I really have no idea how it's going to turn out, so if you're seeing the video edited into this, that means it turned out actually good enough for me to make it into a YouTube video, of which you're now watching because you were bored enough to click it. I can only dearly hope that I'm actually standing in the right place to have myself filmed in, because the margin of error that I have in order to stand in the right place is equivalent to about 0.001 arc seconds. To put it simply, it's very, very narrow. The chances of me standing in the exact correct spot for you to see me is about the same chance of you getting a hole-in-one in Wii Sports Golf. And the chances of me looking directly at you right now is about the same chance as you getting a hole-in-one in Wii Sports Golf about 10 times in a row. And also, as a further note that I forgot to add into this while I was recording, this was actually a 10 times further of a zoom than what the lens can offer on its own by using an updated version of the normal Canon DSLR's camera software, which allowed me to zoom in up to 10 times the distance as well that was already there, which made it technically over a 4,000x zoom. Now, since we're here and I already traveled for about 45 minutes to get to the point away from where the camera is currently filming me, I guess I might as well put into perspective the amount of distance that there is between me and you right now. I am about 20,000 meters away, so as I said before, that's a very far distance. That means even the speed of light is going to take 0.00001 seconds to reach your eyes through this camera. So technically I'm 0.0001 seconds delayed. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say for this video. If you found this to be educational, then, well, I could just say subscribe, I guess.
If the Earth is a sphere with a circumference of 25,000 miles...
See, this is what I'm talking about. The maths ain't really mathing up. Do you know what I mean with this curvature stuff? And I like this. This is the sort of proof that I like to see. To me, these are the sort of things that prove that they're lying. You know what I mean? Either about the shape or the size of the place where we're at. So I don't know, man. This is, you know, make your minds up for yourself. It's all opinions here. It's all for entertainment purposes only. But the maths still isn't mathing up, people. Let's get into it.
Then over a distance of 6 miles, the second bridge should mathematically be 16 feet below the observer's eye line.
Okay, this guy is twice the distance away, so he should be roughly close to around 90 feet below the horizon. At 8 inches squared per mile. But he's not, is he? You can see his whole body right there, plain as day. And you know why?
I don't know.
Because the Earth's flat. Get over.
Astronauts really wore small oxygen packs on the moon for many hours. How did those packs last so long? A scuba diver uses a big, heavy tank and still only breathes for about an hour. So how could a much smaller backpack last way longer? And if we can measure things so carefully, why does this feel confusing when we try to do the simple math? When you look at pictures and videos from space missions, the backpacks look pretty small. They look neat and not very bulky. Now think about scuba gear. Divers carry big metal tanks on their backs just to breathe underwater for a short time. Those tanks are heavy and wide, so it's fair to wonder how a smaller space backpack could support breathing for much longer. Here's what makes people scratch their heads. Air takes up space. When you squeeze air into a tank, you can only squeeze so much. There are clear rules about how much air fits in a tank and how long it can last. Engineers use these rules to keep people safe. You can't just ignore them. If you get the math wrong, people can get hurt. So, the simple answer people give is that spacesuits used smart systems. They reused air, cleaned it, and managed breathing very carefully. The backpacks weren't just air tanks. They were full systems that helped control air, heat, and moisture. So, they work differently from scuba tanks, even though both help people breathe. Think about how a water bottle with a filter works. You don't need to carry tons of clean water if you can clean and reuse what you already have. In a similar way, the space backpacks were designed to reuse air and keep it safe to breathe. That's why they could last longer without being huge. If you like asking simple questions about big science ideas and seeing how smart design solves tough problems, follow this page for more easy-to-understand stories like this. If satellites are really floating high above Earth, how have they stayed there for decades without a single pit stop, tune-up, or trip back home? And if space is as harsh as we're told, why do these machines survive non-stop heat, cold, radiation, and speed with no hands-on care? And here's the big one. Why are we asked to just trust it without ever seeing a repair happen in real time? Let's slow this down. We're told satellites are launched, pushed into orbit, and then left alone for years. No mechanics, no oil changes, no rescue trucks in the sky. Yet down here, your phone cracks, cars break, planes need constant checks, and even Wi-Fi routers glitch. So why are orbiting machines suddenly perfect? Now feel the weight of that question. These objects are said to travel faster than bullets, face extreme temperature swings, and dodge space debris every second. One tiny failure should end everything. A loose bolt, a dead battery, a bad update. But instead, we're told they quietly work year after year. No returns, no visible maintenance, no live fixes, just trust. Imagine the visuals we never see. No astronauts tightening panels, no robotic arms swapping parts, no faded paint, no worn edges, no stress marks, just clean diagrams, charts, and animations. In any other industry, that would raise eyebrows fast. Notice how language matters too. Words like orbit, uplink, and space junk sound complex, so fewer people question them. Complexity can feel like authority, even when simple questions still matter. So what's the alternative view? Some suggest these systems may not be where we're told they are. Think ground towers, mountaintop antennas, fiber hubs, high-altitude balloons drifting over oceans, long-range aircraft circling regions, ships carrying signal gear. All real tech, all repairable, all observable. Suddenly, maintenance makes sense again. Just look around your daily life. Signals bouncing off buildings, antennas on hills, weather tools launched and recovered, internet cables, crawling across seabeds, military surveillance using drones and balloons. All these things exist, and they need people nearby to keep them running, upgrading, and fixing the little failures. Sit with that thought for a second, let it breathe, really think quietly, now. So, next time you hear satellite, just pause. Ask where it really is. Ask how it's fixed. Ask why questioning this makes people uncomfortable. Curiosity isn't denial, it's how truth gets tested. If this made your brain itch, stay here. Watch the next video. This page is for asking the questions you were told not to ask.
Questions, asking some good questions right there. You know what it is, we got to keep our minds open, but really and truthfully, but we don't know, like, are these satellites, are they even in space, or are they just high up in the atmosphere? Personally, well, I think they'll be just, them joints be hooked to the firmament like some chandeliers.
Here's a flight route. We're going from Abu Dhabi to Auckland, and it goes all the way over here and then all the way back down. Why didn't it just cut across over here? But when you look at it on a flat Earth map, it's on a straight line, right? I'm going to show you a couple more of these, and then I'm going to answer an objection that you're going to have. Buenos Aires to Qatar, actually it was the other way around. This was the World Cup. They were going from Qatar to Buenos Aires, but they went to Rome first to fuel. Why did they go there when they could have just gone here? And the answer is because they went from Qatar to Rome to Buenos Aires, right? That makes sense on a flat Earth. It makes no sense on a globe Earth.
And this is what I'm saying again, the maths just ain't mathing up. You know what I'm saying? And you know that if they ain't taking no long route. You get what I'm saying? They be trying to save and conserve petrols or whatever. Even if they be using petrol, that's a whole nother story itself. But trust me, the flat Earth map makes more sense, and they use it as a logo. Come on, people, it's the logo.
Why the heck do we humans have to pay to live on Earth? Birds don't file paperwork to build a nest. Deer don't ever need permits to drink water. Dogs lay in the sun. They eat when they hunt or they're fed. They sleep when they're tired, and nobody calls them irresponsible for it. But if you're born human, you're not allowed to just be. You're not allowed to say, I don't want to play this game. I don't want to sit in a box. I don't want to fill out forms, chase numbers, and pretend this is all natural. If you try and step out, if you try and just say, yo, I quit, I'm done with this shit. You want to go find a quiet place, have a few friends help you build something simple, collect rain, dig a well, grow your own food, and be yourself. Suddenly there's problems. There's permits, taxes, zoning, codes, inspections. Not because you're harming anyone, not because you're dangerous, but because you are disobedient. Every other creature is trusted to regulate themselves, but humans are treated like they're born guilty. And what's wild is, most people don't actually want luxury. They don't need Hermes purses and Rolexes. They don't want domination. They're tired of trying to win. They just want to be left alone. They want to wake up with the sun, naturally, work with their hands, use their creativity to create a way for themselves, eat what they grow, sit by a fire with people they love, work together with their friends, sleep without an alarm clock screaming at them to return to the machine. And the system says, no, you don't get to opt out. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Freedom isn't illegal, but refusing to take part is viewed as a danger. Birds are permitted to live their own lives. People who wish to live like people are punished. And despite your annoyance, don't allow them to accuse you of being lazy. You are not entitled. There is something ancient in you that remembers. Life was never supposed to require permission.
Remember that, people. Trust me. Life was never meant to require permission. You know what I'm saying? This is our earth. This is your earth. You gotta manifest. We gotta do this, people. Let's build together. It's 22.
Why is Antarctica the only place on Earth no one is allowed to freely explore? Think about it. You can book flights to the Amazon, the Sahara, even the top of Everest. But Antarctica, a continent twice the size of Australia, is locked under an international treaty signed by over 50 nations. No mining, no settlements, no independent exploration, only government-approved research. If Earth is a globe, Antarctica is just the South Pole, a frozen desert. But on a flat Earth map, Antarctica becomes the outer wall, the ice barrier that holds the oceans in place. Suddenly, the restrictions make sense. Here's where it gets stranger. In 1956, Admiral Richard Byrd, America's most famous polar explorer, appeared on live television after his expedition and claimed Antarctica held land beyond the South Pole as large as the United States, full of resources. Shortly after, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. How convenient. And what about flights? If you look at a globe and try booking a direct flight across Antarctica, well, it just doesn't exist. Airlines always route around. Why is that? Is it truly for safety, or because the routes would expose the Earth's true shape? Even Google Earth blurs vast sections of Antarctica. For the most photographed planet in history, why is the southernmost landmass still hidden? If you begin investigating deeper, a pattern emerges that many find troubling. Antarctica isn't off limits to protect the penguins. Some argue it's restricted because it represents the edge of our world. The real question isn't whether the Earth is flat or round. The question is, what are they concealing beyond the ice? What discoveries might challenge everything we've been taught about our planet's geography? Until we're allowed unrestricted access to explore and verify for ourselves, these questions will continue to demand answers. This video is for entertainment purposes only.
See, this is what I'm saying. It's not about the shape. It doesn't matter what shape it is. It's about what they're hiding from us. It's about our true identity, who we really are, who we once were, all the history that they've taken from us. Where are we? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what the lands could go on for way further. And like I say, regardless of if it's a globe or a plane, there's hidden lands, there's hidden continents, hidden races, hidden species. Trust me, this stuff is, there's a lot that goes on through the rabbit hole. Like, they're hiding a lot of stuff from us, definitely. And that's the main thing. We just want the truth. We just want disclosure. Do you know what I mean? You're filling our heads with a lot of other stuff, feeling like, you know, we just need the truth. That's it, man.
200 Proofs. The Earth is Not a Spinning Ball by Eric Dubé. 7. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor the supposed curvature of the Earth into their projects. Canals, railways, bridges, and tunnels, for example, are always cut and laid horizontally, often over hundreds of miles, without any allowance for curvature. 8. The Suez Canal connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea is 100 miles long, without any locks making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and water's surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles. 9. Engineer W. Winkler was published in the Earth Review regarding the Earth's supposed curvature, stating, "As an engineer of many years standing, I saw that this absurd allowance is only permitted in school books. No engineer would dream of allowing anything of the kind. I have projected many miles of railways and many more of canals, and the allowance has not even been thought of, much less allowed for. This allowance for curvature means this, that it is 8 for the first mile of a canal, and increasing at the ratio by the square of the distance in miles. Thus, a small navigable canal for boats, say 30 miles long, will have, by the above rule, an allowance for curvature of 600 feet. Think of that, and then please credit engineers as not being quite such fools. Nothing of the sort is allowed. We no more think of allowing 600 feet for a line of 30 miles of railway or canal than of wasting our time trying to square the circle.
Again, there's just so many proofs to disprove the globe theory, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's just lies. Look at the engineers. How can you can't build this stuff without taking all of these things into equation? So you just look at the world that we're living in, and everything's built for a flat plane. So just let that sink in. Like, you know what I mean? Lies, man. The engineers. What are the engineers lying, or are they stupid? You tell me. Just had to pause that for a minute, take time, pause, and looking on these sort of things, because this is more, I'm like, what I sort of think's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Look at this sort of stuff, man. It's crazy.
If you're circumnavigating east to west, you're just going in circles. And that's what the word circumnavigation means. So you can't circumnavigate north to south, because north is the center. South is leaving the magnetic field on the flat plane that we're on. And beyond the Arctic Circle or the Antarctic Circle or the ice wall, whatever you want to call it. Beyond that, who knows what's beyond. But I do know that Antarctica has an average elevation of over 8,000 feet above sea level. It's literally holding all of the waters in. And what's really weird is no country, no nation on Earth has a picture of the shape of the country or nation as its flag. But Antarctica does. And of all the treaties that have been broken throughout human history, the Antarctic Treaty is the most important one that every government around the world just unanimously agrees on. We have that whole thing going on with Greenland. Why not Antarctica? Weird. And you've seen crepuscular light rays, right? Where it literally looks like the sun's light is like peeking through the clouds at this specific angle. Well, that means that the sun is literally small and local, much smaller than the Earth and moving overhead. Because if we had a sun that was 93 million miles away, all of the light rays coming to Earth would be perfectly parallel. And that very small difference with the Earth's wobble would not cause the seasons. And then, if you look at the moon, it's clearly giving off its own light source. There's no possible way that it could be waxing and waning in a 28-day cycle. And the moon's light could be a few degrees colder Fahrenheit on average than the atmosphere around it, meaning the moon is giving off its own source of cold light. There's no possible way that that would be happening if we were on a globe and the moon was a rock reflecting the sun's light. This model right here makes literally no sense. All you have to do is investigate. This video is for entertainment purposes only.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, there's a lot of proof, man. We need to unpack this stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think. I want to know people's opinions. Like, does this stuff make sense to you? Is it just me? Because I used to be dead against these sort of things. Do you know what I mean? I never used to think, nah, man. Like, do you know what I'm saying? But now we need to have discussions about this sort of stuff, because there's lies being told somewhere. Someone's lying to us. Come on, people. 22.
When people argue that the Earth is a globe, they often point to the fact that ships and planes can circumnavigate the globe, traveling east to west and ending up back where they started. Sounds pretty convincing, right? But here's the kicker. Nobody has ever circumnavigated the Earth in a true north to south direction. Why? because both the North Pole and Antarctica are covered in ice, with heavily restricted no-fly zones. It's almost like someone doesn't want us to try it. Let's break it down. East to west circumnavigation doesn't prove the Earth is a globe. You can actually perform this kind of journey on a flat surface, just like tracing a circle around a point on a piece of paper with a compass. The needle stays fixed, and you make a loop around it. Similarly, ships and planes can navigate around a central point on a flat Earth map, moving east or west, and end up back where they started. Easy, right? But here's where things get interesting. If the Earth were truly a globe, you'd expect to see north to south circumnavigation too, going over both poles. But you don't. Why? Heavily enforced flight restrictions. And where do these restrictions come from? The United Nations, the same organization that uses a flat Earth map as its official logo. Coincidence? Maybe not. So when globe proponents say, only a globe can be circumnavigated, they're missing the point. East-west travel proves nothing about the shape of the Earth. The real test would be north-south, but for some reason, that's off limits.
And this is what I'm saying, look, the UN using it as their logo. Nah, this stuff is not made up. They would not just use that as their logo for no reason. This is big business we're talking about here. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not using that logo for no reason. There is substance to that logo. They're telling us without telling us. So you've got to take that. You've got to take that into. You got to take that into the equation. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, trust me, there's definitely some truth to this stuff, and that alone, like, you know, if we can do, I want to see the proof. I want to see someone show me you can travel the globe, north to south circumnavigation. Do you get what I'm saying? You can do it that way, east to west, west to east. Yeah, I get it. You can do it that way, but that way works on the flat plane. Regarding that, the center is the north, and anywhere from the center is south. Do you get what I'm saying? That's how it works on the flat model. Do you know what I mean? But proof's in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Do you know what I mean? So, explorers, let's see this. Let's see someone circumnavigate the globe. The globe. North to south. Come back around. Let's see it.
Why hasn't anyone ever found the edge of the Earth? That's the go-to question for globe Earth believers. If Earth were truly flat, wouldn't someone have walked right up to the edge, snapped a selfie and gone viral? But here's where it gets weird. Some explorers claim they've tried, and the moment they get close, it's like they hit an invisible wall. And no, I'm not talking about a sci-fi movie plot. I'm talking about restricted zones, military patrols, and endless ice. We've been told the Earth is a perfect spinning ball, which means edge talk should be nonsense, right? Yet try to actually travel in a straight line toward the so-called South Pole and see what happens. You'll find yourself funneled toward the Antarctic Treaty, a global agreement signed by over 50 nations, all promising nobody can freely explore there. Why? We're allowed to climb Everest, dive into the Mariana Trench, even launch high-altitude balloons. But Antarctica? Just scientific research only. Sounds noble until you realize the same governments fighting over oil, land, and resources somehow agree to keep you away from this one place. So what's the solution? You start asking questions. If there's no edge, why the secrecy? Flat Earth researchers believe the edge isn't a Hollywood cliff. It's an unending wall of ice thousands of feet high, circling our world like the walls of a giant arena. Beyond it? Possibly more land, more oceans, maybe civilizations we've never been told about. Imagine the implications. Suddenly we're not on a tiny blue marble in endless space. We're in a contained, designed world, and someone doesn't want us speaking outside. Let me give you some examples. Back in 1957, Operation Deep Freeze sent fleets of ships all the way to Antarctica. After a few years, though, the mission stopped being public. Then came Operation High Jump in 1946. Admiral Byrd returned saying there were, quote, lands beyond the pole bigger than the USA. Those statements just vanished from the news, replaced by, well, silence. And yet, ask yourself this. In the age of drones, satellites, and adventure tourism, Why is the one place you can't freely go the same place that would prove or disprove the Earth's shape instantly? If we're so confident in the globe, wouldn't showing the entire untouched coastline be the ultimate mic drop? Instead, it's guarded like a secret vault. Here's the takeaway. Whether you believe the Earth is flat, round, or shaped like your favorite pizza, one thing's undeniable. The edge conversation is avoided, ridiculed, or outright blocked. That alone should spark curiosity. The truth isn't found in the answers we're handed. It's in the questions we're not allowed to ask. If this has you wondering what else we're not being told, don't stop here. I've got more videos that go even deeper, connecting the dots they hope you'll never see. Watch the next one and, keep that curiosity switched on.
Again, it's talking a lot of facts, and this is the thing. If you want to prove, there's plenty ways that you could prove this globe theory, or prove a lot of things. There's plenty ways to do it, but they haven't been done. So just keep that in mind.
If the moon is supposed to be a giant ball of rock 238,000 miles away, then why can we see so much dang detail on it with just a regular old camera? I mean, seriously, craters, shadows, shapes. You can zoom in like it's your neighbor's backyard. Shouldn't it be just a blurry speck if it's that far? Something's not adding up. And it might just flip your entire worldview upside down. Or should I say, flatten it. We've all been taught since kindergarten that the moon orbits around Earth. It reflects sunlight, and it's millions of square miles wide and far, far away. But there's a weird number of things about the moon that don't make sense on a spinning globe. First off, the moon doesn't rotate the way we'd expect. It always shows us the same face. How? On a spinning ball zipping through space at over 1,000 miles per hour? And here's a kicker. The moon actually produces its own light. Yeah, laugh all you want. But why is moonlight demonstrably cooler than moonshade? Sunlight doesn't do that, at all. Now here's where it gets juicy. Flat Earth models offer a totally different take, and honestly it weirdly fits. Instead of imagining the moon as a distant rock floating in space, think of it as a much smaller, local light source circling above us like a spotlight. This explains why moonlight has those cool temperature anomalies, why we see so much surface detail, and why its phases seem so precise and mechanical. It's like a clock in the sky, not a chaotic chunk flying through space. Oh, and those lunar eclipses? There are even ancient records of eclipses happening while both the sun and moon were visible in the sky at the same time. How's that possible on a globe? Let's break it down even more. Ever noticed how shadows from the moon don't line up with the sun's angle? Or how moonlight can actually reduce visibility in some cases instead of helping us see? Flat earthers argue that's because it's a light of its own, not reflected sunlight, and the fact that it moves in tight, repetitive loops over the flat plane. It supports a domed model, like a planetarium, not a flying space rock. Even pilots have reported strange things about the moon's positioning, and ancient cultures described it as transparent or semi-ethereal. This isn't your average just trust NASA conversation anymore. This is real observation. Still think the moon's just a rock floating in the void? Or are you starting to see how it could be part of a much bigger lie? If your brain's doing cartwheels right now, hit that follow button, because we're just scratching the surface. Trust me, once you start looking at the sky with new eyes, you'll never unsee it. There's a whole series waiting for you right here. Let's uncover the truth, one illusion at a time.
The moon is definitely there by design, in my opinion.
So here is the proof that the globe Earth is impossible. If you're, say, about 3 meters above sea level, the horizon should be roughly 6 kilometers away from you. And well, whatever's behind that should disappear under the curvature, shouldn't it? Now just imagine islands that are photographed at a distance of 30 kilometers. At that range, they should have to be at least 70 meters high to even be visible. So the question is simple. Why do those long-distance photographs we see show trees, buildings, and mountains that honestly should be out of sight? Are they on a cliff, or are they at sea level? The answer to that is enough to, well, destroy the globe model. Because really, those things should be impossible to see, at least according to the mathematics of the globe. So how to explain these trees, buildings, and mountains visible at these distances? It's very simple. There is no curvature between us. If we lied to you about where you are, we can lie to you about everything else. Nothing turns, the world is stable. But we taught you not to trust your eyes, your body, and your intuition. Stop being hypnotized by equations that twist logic. You do not need a diploma to feel what is true. Come back to your senses, to your direct perception. There is a silence that tells the truth. And when we give up calm, everything becomes logical again. Everything becomes true again. This is for entertainment purposes.
Globe theory has 4 mandatory conditionals, okay? The first of which being curvature. If the Earth is a globe, then there would be some sort of shape. There would be some sort of globular shape that could be measured. And now that curvature rate, which people can, we could talk about, for 1 mile, there should be 0.666 feet of curvature over 1 mile, okay? Over 10 miles, there should be 66.6 feet of curvature, okay, over 10 miles. Now, over 100 miles, there should be 6,669 feet of curvature, which we don't see. Any way you cut it, we don't see it. Now, when I see 666 all those times, you know what I think of? Now watch, I know you guys may not like the Bible, but how about Iron Maiden? Let he who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666. So basically Satan put his signature on the globe theory, okay? So right there, that's the first mandatory conditional, the curvature, which is not there. Second one is rotation. Now, if the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, which no matter way you cut it, okay, no matter way you cut it, the Earth is allegedly spinning 1,000 miles an hour, right? Which we don't feel. No one can feel, okay? Maybe some expensive little device that's designed to give you that result may feel it. But anything, no one, plane hover or a helicopter hovering in place, the Earth isn't moving, okay? If I jump in the air, okay? If I T-jump in the air, right? 1 second, the Earth would allegedly be spinning so fast under me that 4.3 miles should be spinning underneath me, okay? No matter how you cut it, no matter how much fairy mathematics you lay on that, it is not happening, okay? And I know Globers might say, yeah, that's like half the speed of an hour hand on a clock, okay? Which is reasonable, right? However, theoretical globe Earth is much bigger than a clock, okay? What that means, it's more ground to cover in the same amount of time, okay? So that's the second mandatory conditional, which is not present, the rotation. Okay, the third one is tilt, okay? Allegedly on globe Earth, on the globe theory, there is a 23.4 degree tilt back and forth, which is allegedly the reason for the seasons. But what I would like to demonstrate using a pair, because as we know, the high priest of globe religion, Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually said Earth is pear-shaped, okay? I'm not putting words in his mouth, okay? Now watch, the reason there is no tilt, okay? Polaris would be directly above the North Pole of this pair, right? Doesn't matter how far away it is. Polaris is directly above the North Pole of this pair. Now, not only Polaris doesn't tilt, but Orion, the constellations, the fixed stars do not tilt. Now, this is the third mandatory conditional for the globe theory. Allegedly, the Earth tilts like this, with all of the stars tilting perfectly. Do you guys see what I'm saying? My hand represents the northern celestial hemisphere. I hope you guys are following what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be weird or throw some weird stuff at you guys. But the reason we know there's no tilt, the sky, it's like this. The sky would stay put and the Earth would tilt like that. But that's not what we see because the Earth is not tilting. What that is the sun's path goes from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn. There is no Earth tilt, right? Next. Here we go. The fourth mandatory conditional, which we can discuss. I'm open-minded to whatever you got to say, okay? The fourth mandatory conditional for the globe theory to work, gravity. So that people could stand on the bottom of this pair. You see, and I'm not trying to words in your mouth or you know what I mean? This is what the globe theory is telling me. Since I've been a kid in school, this is what the globe theory has been telling me. People are standing on the bottom of this pair dancing, right? Gravity, right? Now, as I understand gravity, it is the greater the mass force of attraction, right? This is what I've heard. You guys, I don't know if you guys still agree with it or not, but greater than the force of attraction. The reason we know that isn't true is because if there was something that weighed 100 pounds and something that weighed 1 pound, if gravity were true, the heavier object having more mass would indeed fall faster. But that's not what we see because it's not happening.
Yeah, this guy was talking a lot of game here still. What? Let me know what you think in the comments with this one. I want to know.
If all of the planets revolve around the sun, then why is it always dark in space? If everything is spinning around a giant light bulb called the sun, why does space look like a switched-off basement? Now, here's the part that really pokes the brain. We're told sunlight flies in every direction, endlessly, with no limit. But for some reason, only planets get lit up, and everything around them stays dark, like light suddenly forgets how to travel. Think about it. If Earth, Mars, and Jupiter are all supposedly orbiting this massive glowing star, shouldn't the space between them be washed in light too? Not spotlighted, but actually bright? Now here's another angle nobody brings up. On Earth, whenever you shine a light into a real environment, you see the space between objects brighten up. Water, fog, dust, even clean air catches some glow. But space is always shown as this perfect black stage, as if every planet is a prop under a studio lamp. That looks less like a giant universe, and more like layers of light above a contained system. Think about it. If light behaves differently up there than down here, are we sure the place is what we're told it is? Maybe the darkness isn't a mystery. Maybe it's a clue. A hint that the environment above us is completely different from what globe models describe. And once you start noticing these inconsistencies, it's hard to unsee them. Why would a universe filled with billions of stars need to be this dark? Why would a sun bright enough to heat entire worlds leave the space around them untouched? If all of the planets revolve around the sun, then why is it always dark in space?
That's a valid, that is a valid point. Space look dark as hell. Shouldn't it be bright? Just saying. But that makes a lot of sense. I never thought about that one before. Let me know what you think.
51 seconds is enough for me to prove the Earth is flat. Let's assume that the Earth rotates. How fast do they teach you in textbooks? About 1,000 miles per hour. That's faster than any airplane. What would happen to people? Well, but that's not all. How fast does the Earth rotate around the sun? That's 67,000 miles per hour. And the solar system in the Milky Way rotates at about 500,000 miles per hour. And the Milky Way moves at over 670 million miles per hour. That's 670,568,000 miles per hour. Doesn't that seem absurd to you? Our Earth doesn't move, otherwise we couldn't exist. See it for yourself, maps, tools, and a full 3D model of the flat Earth in the mobile app Flativerse. Link is in bio.
It's a good little 51 seconds. He spit some game, man. What you think? Let me know.
The Navy admits in their defense magazine that their laser weapon that has no curvature to it whatsoever, it's not curving, can shoot down Russian and Chinese cruise missiles flying 50 feet over the water over 100 miles away. Now let me explain to you what 100 miles is, because you didn't know a minute ago what curvature is supposed to be there at 100 miles. I'll tell you. If the Earth is a sphere 24,901 miles in circumference, the 8 inches per mile squared on average means that in 100 miles there should be 6,666 feet of curvature. That's well over a mile of curve. There is no laser weapon shooting from a Navy ship doing this to hit a missile moving at Mach 4. I'm sorry, but the Navy admits by that the Earth is level and non-rotating.
These are the sort of proofs that make sense to me. These are the sort of proofs that, you know, that get my attention. The Navy, all of that money and engineering, and it's only possible doing it this way. So, come on.
If the moon was completely untouched before 1969, how did NASA know exactly where to land without ever testing the ground? They told us it was the greatest leap for mankind, right? But think about it.
if no one had ever stepped on it? No probe ever truly tested its surface before. How do you know the first landing wouldn't sink the ship into dust, or hit a hidden crater, or worse, bounce off? They said the surface might be as soft as flour, yet somehow they nailed the exact landing spot from 250,000 miles away. They even knew the ground would hold the craft's weight, down to the exact pressure per square inch. How? Here's where it gets strange. Before 1969, every photo of the moon's surface came from telescopes on Earth. And yet, somehow, they already had detailed landing coordinates mapped out. Isn't it odd how that same precision wasn't possible for the bottom of our own oceans? And we're told they could radio crystal clear messages through space vacuum, yet my phone can't hold a signal through a tunnel. So were they testing something else all along, or testing us? If the moon was the first step, why have we never gone back? For real? Why are the original tapes, data and flight paths conveniently lost? And if they could land there without testing the ground first, what else did they already know about that place? The more you dig, the more it feels less like science, and more like a storyboard. Because maybe, just maybe, the moon wasn't as far as we were told. Maybe the landing wasn't about touching another world, but shaping ours. Look, I'm not saying what's real or fake, but isn't it wild that the biggest proof of the globe begins with something no one else has ever repeated? If everything we were shown started from a story no one can test today, what else could be perfectly crafted illusions? So here's your challenge. Don't argue in the comments, ask questions. Why did they know exactly where to land before ever landing? And why does every image of Earth from space look slightly different every few years? If curiosity makes you uncomfortable, you might just be standing too close to the edge of the globe. Drop your thoughts below. Share this with someone who's ever looked at the moon and wondered. And follow for more questions that shouldn't have answers, but somehow do.
Honestly, I think if you still believe that moon landing was real, I think you might need to open your eye. You might need a little bit of help. I can't lie. You might need to rethink about certain things. I mean, if you want to debate with me in the comments about that, then fine. But if you really think that moon landing was not, if you really think that moon landing wasn't a hoax, or it wasn't staged, then you need to look in the mirror, think about life, serious. Let's have a debate in the comments. It's all opinions.
If the moon has virtually no gravity, how exactly did astronauts manage to land a multi-ton spacecraft on its surface without floating off into the void? And here's what really messes with your head. Why do official photographs show footprints pressed deep into lunar soil when there's supposedly not enough gravitational pull to even hold dust particles down? Wait, it gets weirder. If there's insufficient gravity to keep anything grounded, what force kept those massive lunar modules from drifting away the moment engines shut off? Look, we've been sold this incredible tale about touchdown procedures on a celestial body with 1/6 the pulling power of home. But think about basic physics for a second. Landing requires resistance, friction, and downward force. Without substantial gravitational attraction, your vessel would essentially bounce around like a balloon in a windstorm. The math they present talks about thrusters and calculated descents, yet something feels incomplete. How does a spacecraft weighing thousands of pounds achieve stable contact on terrain that allegedly can't even maintain atmospheric pressure? The official explanation involves complex orbital mechanics and perfectly timed engine burns. But does that really add up when you examine the fundamentals? Maybe we're approaching this from the wrong angle entirely. What if the whole scenario we've been taught needs serious reconsideration? Some researchers suggest the entire landing narrative contains inconsistencies that point toward alternative explanations. Perhaps what happened up there differs significantly from public accounts. When you actually break down the physics, the environmental conditions, and the photographic evidence side by side, patterns emerge that challenge mainstream understanding. The solution isn't accepting everything at face value. It's investigating contradictions with genuine curiosity. Consider how dust behaves in the footage. In low-gravity environments, particles should float and disperse slowly, creating clouds that linger. Yet video shows dirt falling in peculiar arcs. Think about temperature extremes too. Surfaces facing direct solar radiation reach boiling points, while shadowed areas plummet to freezing. How did equipment function flawlessly through such radical shifts? These details matter when piecing together what actually occurred. Question everything you thought you knew. Dive deeper into more eye-opening content right here on this page.
It's true though. It just, when you think about it, it just looks so fake. I mean, you know, if you was up on the moon, you know you'd be doing some stuff. You'd be kicking up the dust. You'd be busting a couple little backflips or something. I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't know, but it's definitely fake. 100% fake. That video is fake.
Did you know Encyclopedia said we live under a firmament up until 1951? That question alone should make you pause, because if knowledge is always improving, why did that idea disappear instead of being debated? Here's the tea. They say the richest families already know this and moved outward long ago, while the rest of us hustle, stress, and compete inside a limited system. Is that impossible? Or just uncomfortable to imagine? Now think about maps. Old paper atlases, classroom globes, phone screens, even Google Maps. They all show the same familiar zones with deep detail, yet other areas fade into blank space or restrictions. If maps guide how we think, what happens when parts of the board are erased? Are maps showing the whole world or just the area we're meant to manage? Then look at travel. People proudly say they've gone around the world, but, notice the routes. Ships, planes, races, and records mostly move east to west. Long sideways loops. North to south journeys are quietly discouraged. Is that just weather and fuel, or is direction more important than we're told? And then there's Antarctica, a frozen continent wrapped in permits, treaties, patrol ships, and rules. Some say it's only ice and science labs. Others ask why normal people can't freely explore it. What if the exit of our world to the other worlds is hidden behind the cold ice walls? So, what's the solution? Compare old ones. Look at flight paths, shipping lanes, actions, and historical language. Notice patterns instead of trusting labels. Ask why certain questions get laughed at instead of answered. You don't have to accept or reject anything today. Just notice how quickly curiosity is shut down. If this made you think, stay here. Follow the page, watch more videos, and, share this with someone who still likes asking why. This channel isn't here to tell you what to believe. It's here to remind you that real freedom starts with questions, not answers.
And people will just dismiss this thinking like, yeah, we've advanced in technology since then. No, people. No, we haven't. We might have advanced in certain technologies, but in a whole degree of advancement, you got to go all the way back. We haven't got the technology that we once had. Or if we have got it, it's not available to the public. Just know that.
If NASA went to the moon, then how did President Nixon call astronauts from a landline? Doesn't that feel oddly convenient? Because here's where it gets wild. Back then, people struggled to get a clean call across town without static. Even weather could interrupt a landline. But we're supposed to believe a perfect, clear conversation traveled across empty space, bounced through layers of atmosphere, dodged radiation belts, and landed right on a handheld camera broadcast without delay, not even a tiny glitch. And the whole world just nodded like, yep, totally normal. Meanwhile, your phone loses signal in an elevator. Imagine shooting a movie. You don't need real astronauts, you just need a believable scene. A desk, a telephone, a dramatic pause. Boom, instant history. And by adding a live call, it anchors the event deeper into people's memory. It's storytelling 101. Add a president, add a phone, add a nation watching, and suddenly every technical impossibility melts into the background. And the best part? Once that call played, the audience was emotionally locked in. No one stopped to ask why every other space transmission since then looks hyper-delayed, glitchy, or conveniently lost. But that one call? Flawless. If this made you rethink even one detail, don't stop here. Check the next video on this page, because once you start asking questions, the whole story starts unfolding fast.
The president calls the astronauts from the landline. Put an extra large cap on his head.
Get it? Gleason's map proves the Earth is flat. The Alexander Gleason map isn't just some internet conspiracy. It's a patent, filed and accepted by the United States government. It shows all the continents laid out flat, spreading from the North Pole at the center to the icy ring we call Antarctica at the edges. Ships navigated with it, radio operators used it, and even now, air traffic control systems and flight paths look suspiciously similar. Why does that happen? If the Earth's a globe, now imagine you're a pilot flying from Australia to South America. On the globe, that should curve way down, right? But in real life, your flight path goes almost perfectly straight, just like on Gleason's map. Why is that? Is it just a coincidence? Maybe it's for convenience. Or, well, could it be something no one really wants to talk about? So, think about how every world clock is laid out. Why does time radiate outward from the North Pole? And why do long-haul flight routes match this layout better than the globe's? It's a bit curious, isn't it? And why did an old map maker over a century ago seem to draw the Earth in a way that matches our modern flight paths more accurately than NASA's globe renderings? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could it be that Gleason's map wasn't wrong, but that it shows a perspective we quietly stopped teaching? And if that's true, then what else have we been told to simply accept without questioning? Quite the thought, eh? If you've ever felt something about this doesn't quite add up, comment Gleason's map below. Share this with someone who still thinks the globe explains it all.
This is what I'm talking about, Gleason's map. This is probably the closest thing you're going to get to what the actual world looks like. You know, and from when they're still using it, or using things derived from this map to actually navigate the world now. You got to know that there's some substance in these things, man. Trust me. Make it make sense.
And follow for more questions they don't want you asking. Just remember, this video is for entertainment purposes. Gleason's map proves the Earth is flat. The Alexander Gleason map isn't just some internet conspiracy. It's a patent, filed and accepted by the United States government. It shows all the continents laid out flat, spreading from...
If you made it to the end of the video, drop a 33 or a 22 in the comment section. It's been a pleasure. We've gone through a lot today, so if you just want to, whatever, if you want to have discussions about the topics, all the different things in the videos, let's get active with the community. Let's build something. Let's talk about it. And like, comment, subscribe, man. Let's help this channel grow. Let's get it. Love, abundance.